pOTATers, welcome back to On the Air Tonight. Very special episode this week for episode 41. You could say it was our first celebrity interview. I don't even want to call it an interview. I'd say it's more of a yarn, a celebrity chat, to use alliteration. Your boy Rick Donald, you may know him from Home and Away. You may know him from Wentworth. You may know him from Underbelly Razor. You probably know him from the Libra commercial where the guy sticks all the pads on his arms and goes ching 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 like a robot, and then the girlfriend's parents come in. That's your boy Rick. If that's what you know him for, well, strap in, because you should know him for Australia's Sexiest Tradie. The best new comedy doing the rounds, best thing I've seen come out of this country as far as comedy goes in a long, long time. I mean, sure, Arnie Donners of the world, your Bondi Hipsters of the world, great. If you want to go back to your roots, if you want to go back to a single camera, mockumentary, roots and all, Australian comedy about Australian people with a lot of heart that's probably going to make you cry as much as it makes you laugh, check out Australia's Sexiest Tradie on 7+. All 6 episodes are on there. 23 minutes apiece. You can bash it out in a night. Rick was way too generous with his time. He sat down for a good hour and 40 minutes and just unloaded on the boys. This was a really fun chat. It was a Zoom podcast. Maybe the audio quality isn't quite up to what you expect, what you've come to expect in Trademark Studios, but it's 1 week. That comes with the territory when you're talking interstate. Look, guys, hope you enjoyed this one. We loved it. Bye.
So sorry, but I'm not taking off my glass.
Lockyer takes a shot. It's low. He's got it. I think he's got it.
Merlin, are you going to speak?
But for me, it was a winner. David.
Well, I'm afraid it wasn't for me, Margaret.
Thank God you're here. Grandma's been raped.
On. Hey.
Big fella.
Can we hear it?
Hang on a minute.
Technical.
Sorry, I'm just setting up
doing this,
the
man.
can you hear me through this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just take these
We
mics
can
off because
yeah.
it's coming through our laptop.
I'm professional too.
Mate,
You don't have a studio, Matt? Just jump in one of these.
I fucked up.
Can you hear us, man?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you well. I'll just turn it up a bit. How you going?
Good, mate.
Excellent, mate.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I had a little. I had a listen of the app, and I think it's such a good idea for a potty, like just exploring the dark depths of fucking free-to-air television.
Yeah. There's some gems out there.
Yeah,
Clearly.
it's an unturned stone at the moment.
Yeah.
It really is. Patent that.
Yeah.
That's in the intro, don't worry.
Was it a bit of a like joke though that you guys were like, you know, you'd see each other at work? I don't know what your history is, but you'd be like, fuck, there's some shocking shit on telly at the moment. Or was it the type of thing like, we should talk about this? You know what I mean?
It's funny how it started. Tom and I, we knew each other. We met through a mutual friend, and we both wanted to start doing some more like creative presenting work. We both have a bit of a creative background. And Tom came up with the idea of like, dude, a lot of people have like, you know, subscriptions to Netflix and Stan and Amazon Plus, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good content on free-to-air television. So we did our best of like our due diligence of finding 60 Minutes, Australian Dream.
Good quality stuff initially.
Good quality. And then it just became like, there's actually a lot of dog shit on here as well.
Yeah, you're right though. There is a lot of, I mean, there is some good stuff, but yeah, free-to-air television. I mean, it's in a slippery situation at the moment with just the amount of reality TV and all that sort of shit.
Well, it's hard to, like, we tried not to just make it like Gogglebox audio. Like, we tried to stray away from just watching Maths or fucking Holy Moly or like,
even though we did
Love
watch
Island,
both of
even
those.
though we watched both. But like, we tried to be a little bit more highbrow about it and like find some gems like ABC,
But it's also,
SBS Tacos.
I can imagine it'll be interesting though. People will like your personality, so they want to know. They will want you to watch that shit as well. You know, they want you to comment on maths.
Yeah. I think our highest rating episodes are probably ones where we were just bagging the shit out of something. Yeah, rather than a genuine critique of anything.
Surprisingly, things like Framing Britney, the Britney Spears doco, did really well.
Yeah.
So people, I guess there's a lot of Britney fans out there.
Britney fans or Britney haters.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Bit of both.
Yeah. But yeah, we were stoked to stumble across this one last week, Australia's Sexiest Tradie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think a lot of people have seen it. You know, I think it is the type of thing like what happened with Mick as well, Malloy. It was the type of thing that, you know, we had no marketing at all. And I mean, it's 7, you know. So, sorry, has the potty started? Are we just
I was just going to say, we've been recording the whole time and we were kind of going to do like an official intro and get you in, but I think we just roll with it and just jump in head first.
Just before we go, are you getting any feedback at all when you speak or anything? Are you all good? Sweet.
Yeah.
Right. First time doing a Zoom podcast. So there's going to be, we thought there was going to be teething issues, but all good.
Yeah.
No, yeah, sweet.
Yeah. But yeah, so Mick stumbled across you just like we did. And I saw what he said and he had the same reaction as us. We were just like, yeah, who is this guy and why? Like, what have I stumbled across?
Yeah, I think we had a bit of a, you know, I think if I could go back and change the title of the show, I probably would, because I think one of the main, I mean, I love the title, and I think if you know it's not a reality show, it's the perfect title.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you're just sitting on your couch and you're just, you know, you're just looking through without even, you know, you can look through what's on without actually going to the channel. If I saw that title and I was a bloke, and this is the type of show, this is a show made for blokes, there's no way in the world a bloke would click on Australia's Sexiest Tradie.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of feedback that a lot of people that liked the show didn't want to watch it because of the title to start with, and it wasn't until a few people had said, oh no, it's not a reality show, it's not just about blokes being sexy, it's just a piss take and all that. So yeah, I'd probably change the title if I could.
Yeah, we had almost that exact experience when we were scrolling through, like because our I guess creative process for this show is we roll in here, do no prep, and then just scroll through 7, 9, ABC, and
find a thumbnail that appeals to us. Read the description. Be like, all right, let's give it a crack.
And Jake read Australia's Sexiest Tradie out to me, and I was like, nah. But then we clicked on episode 5, and we were like, oh, because we thought it was the latest one, and it's that scene of you going into the radio station for the first time, and your mum's playing with your hair, and you're like, fuck off, mum, like fucking leave me alone. And we're like, hold on, is this scripted?
Yeah.
And is this like he's swearing every 3 seconds and it's on Channel 7. It's clearly not like a prime time, you know, Sunday thing. And yeah, when you realize the concept of it, that it's a mockumentary and it's not an actual contest for Australia's Sexiest Tradie, it's fucking great. But yeah, I imagine getting that message across to people has been tough.
Well, it's just marketing, you know, like we had, like, I made the show on like the smell of an oily rag. You know, we had no cash for it whatsoever, because I'm also, you know, it's my first swing at making TV. So, I mean, I'm predominantly an actor, but this is definitely the sort of the path I want to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, we made it for very little money, because I just knew that someone like myself that was green coming into making TV shows, you know, if I went to any network with like a massive receipt, they'd be like, no chance, you know, you haven't got any runs on the ball. You can start out holding the boom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which I didn't want to do. So yeah, just went in there and made it ultra cheap. Like we made no money on it whatsoever. Like, you know, like we actually spent money as well. And then then we just unfortunately didn't have the marketing. So it's the type of thing that, you know, Channel 7, when you're on a multi-channel, you know, like 7 Mate, you're just not going to have that same reach. And it's, in some ways, it's a show for 7 Mate, but it's also, you know, there are layers to it. It's not just, you know, like just stupidity. It's not just
No.
like silly craziness. There is some deeper stuff in there, but without the marketing and the right trailer to sort of show that to people, just no one has a clue,
100%.
Can I ask, Rick, you were saying before if there was one thing you changed, it would have been the title. Did you have an alternative in mind?
I was trying to think of that because I spoke to the guy at Seven who like is basically he's sort of like head of programming on the multi-channels, and he was like, what else could we have called it? And I don't know. I kind of don't like those shows that are just a name. You know what I mean? Like Frankie Wood does.
Yeah.
I just
To
for
be
me,
frank.
Yeah.
yeah. Like, I mean, Russell Coit is a good example of it working. All Aussie Adventures. It's kind of like it needed to be something like that, but God, I don't know. Maybe
Russell's
just
name says so much about him as a character as well, though.
Yeah, Russell Coit.
Russell Coit, you know what you're getting into.
yeah. Maybe I just should have called it Dropkick or something like that. I don't know.
Drongo.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I
crazy.
don't know. It's a tough one. And I think moving forward, because we've been talking about doing a second series,
Oh, fuck.
because it's so cheap to make. It's very, I work very because it's mockumentary as well. You basically do just have a small skeleton crew.
Yeah.
So it is very affordable to make. So like the numbers haven't been amazing, but they haven't been bad. But it's also multi-channel. And when you make something quite cheap, it's easy for them to sort of go ahead. So yeah, we're just trying to think about if we do go ahead, because it has finished in a way that it could just be that could just be it.
Yeah.
But if we do go further, I think we need to think about the title.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that you'd like to do a second series, because it's very rare. Like when we came across this on most of the stuff we watch is through digital, like the on-demand streaming. So we came across it on Channel 7, and we hear you dropping F-bombs and C-bombs, and then there's a shitload of shit jokes in there. It's not the usual repertoire that you see on Channel 7.
Or free to air,
Yeah.
I mean, SBS back in the day when, they had Wilfred and, was it SBS or ABC? I can't remember, but, he's pulling bongs and, I remember I actually wasn't watching Wilfred, but I remember, this was back when free to air was sort of king.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad's mates talking about it, like there was finally a show for them, and they were like, fuck, it's on at like 10:45 on SBS. And they're like, what channel's SBS? Like they'd never clicked on it in their lives.
Yeah.
I remember them just sort of it was just like a rare thing for a show to kind of speak their language. And I thought when I was making this, because I grew up in North Queensland, so I know a lot of Frankies, and I'm mates with some of them, and some of them I fucking hate, and I've done some work in different trades, council and stuff like that, in between like drama school and all that sort of stuff. But
that'd be an interesting combination. Class to plumbing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd go, I remember my brother, like my brothers are tradies and stuff. My brother had a thing called a business called an Aquavac suction truck. So like instead of, I don't know if you know much about this, but instead of digging with a drill and potentially fucking up piping underground, the alternative is high pressure hose. And so I would be at drama school doing like pirouettes in ballet, and then we'd be doing, Shakespeare and wearing the tights, and then we'd be doing, some like just ridiculous shit. And then I'd be in a hole with a big fucking sucker just sucking mud. And I'd be thinking the whole time, fuck, I hope acting works out. But I met a lot of Frankies, and that's how they talk, to get back to your question, and they do drop the F-bombs, and they do, the C-bombs. And if you don't do that, blokes will sniff it out straight away, and they'll go, well, this isn't us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing about the show, is that when we did our initial review, we'd seen 2 episodes, and you get a very surface level idea of what Frank is like as a character and what you're trying to perpetuate as far as that, stereotypical dark side of a tradie where they are completely derogatory, misogynistic. But then you need to delve deeper into the show to see exactly what makes him tick and what kind of message you're trying to portray with the character.
Yeah, and I was also very because tradies are 99% of the time, tradies are just good blokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's why in the competition space, pretty much all of the other tradies are just normal human beings. So I really want Frankie to be that 1% that sort of spoils it for the rest, gives them a bad name.
Yeah.
Obviously you wanted blokes to watch this. Was the intention the tradie market? Is that what you were going for, to show them, hey, this is me on screen, or at least a guy I know on screen?
I don't know if it was just for tradies. I hope that they would like it. I thought they would go, my Instagram has been blowing up ever since the show started with guys saying, I fucking work with this guy every day and I hate the guy. Right? But then I get the complete opposite, and I get blokes texting me saying, me and you have to have beers, you're just like me.
Okay.
So, but I think the main thing is it wasn't just for tradies. It was because really it's not a show about tradies. It's a show about a family and about a guy in a family that is just, learned really bad behaviors from his old man and has been enabled by his mother and has just created this disgusting human being that is actually just quite tragic,
Yeah.
What was interesting in listening to your thing, that you guys loved the first ep and then you guys fell off in the second. And what I find interesting about that is because I always thought the first ep or two were the slowest and the most uninteresting. But that's me, because I find every show I watch, when it's narrative, the first couple of, especially the first step, I'm always just like, all right, let's get all the learning the characters and okay, this is what the story is about. Let's get to the show.
Yeah.
So it was funny that you guys liked that one, because that one, in my opinion, just too much setup.
You know what it is? It was, I think we said, it's that first episode, it was just that surprise factor got us. And we were just like, what the fuck is this? And where did it come from? And Frankie's so fresh in the first episode, and it's like nothing we've ever seen on television, let alone free to air. That setup was like the most interesting part. And we went back and watched a couple of episodes today, and just that scene where you're fucking with the pregnant customer, it's just so we were pissing ourselves in that first episode, because you've set up at that point, and then it's just like you kind of let rip to just show you at your worst now that we know who you are.
Yeah, it's funny because that first episode too, that actual scene with the client, with the pregnant mum, I remember because I remember going to a client's house and they didn't want any chemicals in the house. So that's pulled from a real life thing. And it happens quite a lot nowadays as well. Apparently, some of my mates are they go to some client's house and the stories that they tell me. But yeah, it's funny. There was about 6 more scenes with that client that I had to cut for time. Just us hitting plumbing things are just super quiet, just trying to be super we had so much extra stuff, but fucking 27 minutes isn't long. So you got to just cut so much stuff. But in my opinion, I was like, this is dragging on. I've got to get on to the next thing. I want to get to ep 3. I want it when it starts to get, more character driven stuff.
Yeah.
But it's funny, it's interesting what some people like, others don't, so it's been a really big learning curve, that.
Yeah. What's the general feedback and reception been, just in general across the whole show?
I think it's been people that have seen it, that have reached out to me. They've gone sort of. So friends and family are always going to say nice stuff. So excluding them, I'm kind of going off people that have just hit me up on Instagram that I've never met before and stuff. And they tend to it's like I haven't had any negative stuff. It's been like a lot of it's been, we need more shows like this. And I think that is just those people that probably don't really like the PC culture that we're kind of in at the moment, and they're like, fucking give us some more of the unapologetic Australian stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and the big thing is, which I'm glad to hear, is that a lot of people have been reaching out since it's just finished last week. A lot of people have been reaching out saying, oh God, my dad was just like that, and he was an absolute prick, and it was, you know, it was quite cathartic to see that, and you know, so it's been quite nice to have that response. But to be honest, it's on Channel 7. I don't think we got a lot on 7 Mate watching. I think we had like 80,000 an app or something like that.
Okay.
But then 7 Plus, which is where I hope it will gain momentum from word of mouth. That is, the algorithm is, they call it minutes watched. That's how they judge how well it's doing.
Yeah.
And we're getting more and more. And what's really good is that when it was on, when people do click on it, they're telling me anyway that when they click on it, they watch the whole thing. So they get on a bit of a binge and they watch the whole series. So just unfortunately, I don't think many people know about it.
Yeah. Once you get into it, you see it's 6 episodes long and it's 25 minutes an episode. And
Super consumable.
Yeah, bash this out in a night like easily. Yeah.
And that was the plan too. I wanted it to be something you could smash because, you know, with that, I mean, you know, you hit the nail on the head when you were doing the comparison about, you guys were talking about, it was quite freaky actually, because you guys, when you're talking about someone else's show, it's really interesting because you guys were very on the money with where I get my inspiration from.
Okay. I was going to ask you about this and I was like, how many did I get?
Well, you know what was funny though? Like, you're totally right. Like, I worship The Office UK, Ricky Gervais. That cringe humor is totally like,
yeah. You nailed the cringe for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it. And you also, especially with the first show, you need, you know, I didn't want to sit on the fence. I didn't want to make a safe show. I wanted people to either hate it or love it and not be anywhere in between, because there's just so much. We're oversaturated with TV at the moment that if you don't swing, you're just, you know, and you still can swing and still fucking end up nowhere anyway.
But it's better than pleasing everyone and just trying to make something.
Real beige.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, and you know, I actually like Chris Lilly too, but I to be honest, I thought Chris Lilly's stuff was, I mean, I loved it when it came out. It was huge, you know. But I guess I loved the style, but I think what I didn't love about Chris's stuff is that his characters were so big and bold, and the fact that he played all the characters, I never truly believed it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I wanted to do a little bit differently to sort of his style. But what was interesting is you guys were talking about the wax scene.
Yeah.
With Steve.
Yeah.
And you guys are like,
40-year-old.
You guys are like, this guy's ripped it, and I totally did. But it wasn't conscious.
Right. Really?
You know, because you were saying the Brad Pitt, because he does. I went back and looked at it after you said it.
Yeah.
So that shit, because I love that film. I watched it, and the wax, just purely the wax, not saying Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
I thought he said that, and then I did it, and I was like, oh my God, that does look totally ripped.
That's so funny. When did you notice that you'd ripped it? Was it when you got back into the editing room, or literally after you listened to the episode?
Listen to the podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
That's it's been subconscious in your head that whole time, and it's come
exactly. And there's a lot of that, and you know, a massive part of like when you write stuff, a huge like part is like, there's so many quotes out there about like, it's you can't be stealing. It's like you're taking inspiration, and then you're just
building on it.
You know, you're taking the best bit of something you loved in a film, and then you're wishing there was a whole movie about that. You know what I mean? But when I think about it now, if I had to remember that Steve Carell yells at that shit, there is no way in the world I would have said it. Because that seems like blatant ripping off.
Yeah. Look, at the end
waxing's
of the day,
enough. Waxing's close
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
without saying fucking Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
look, I mean, as far as anything creative,
Brad Pitt. Sorry, did he say Brad Pitt?
He says Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson.
Oh, okay.
That was just the
Oh,
idea of
right.
yelling out a celebrity's name.
Yeah.
Kelly Clarkson.
Thank God he didn't say Brad Pitt.
Yeah, imagine that. They got through a few people who hadn't seen 40-year-old version at 7.
Yeah, clearly. But yeah, look, I mean, the argument could be made that originality is dead, and everything made these days is an inspiration of something else, or it's a reiteration of something. So, yeah.
You can't go through life and consume things and then be expected to, as a creator, not be inspired by them and put elements of them out into your work. It's just everyone does it. Yeah.
And also, I don't know if I'm sure he probably would have, because he's a maverick, Steve Carell, but I don't know if he actually went and got real waxing done like you did in that scene. He did.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did. And they actually did like almost rip his nipple off, apparently.
Yeah. Because I saw in an interview, Rick, they got an actress to do it. She wasn't an actual waxer, so she was using all the wrong techniques. You're not actually supposed to go over the nipple. So they got this Asian actress in just ripping his nips off.
That sucks.
It's never waxed a thing in her life. I mean, I was lucky. I had a pro. Like, that was a real...
Yeah.
We turned up and we were like, can we bring 2 cameras in and just give you like $200? And we just come in at close of day.
Yeah.
And she was like, you got to pay me $200? And I'm like, yeah. And so we rocked up. And it was like, one take. It felt very what Borat must feel like, Sasha, his stuff. Like, it kind of just, it's like the closest thing to being a doco.
Yeah.
Except I've just got some things in my head that I've got to get through, like saying things like, if you want to make the top 10 sexiest tradie, this is the type of shit you got to do, and stuff like that. But fuck, it killed, man. And I thought it was going to be like 40-year-old version. She was going to put down one layer and she was going to whip one off.
Yeah.
But it's not how it works. They
going.
Machine gun, man. They just go. And she really was like, when she was saying, how about the middle? She was going to wax the Hopawati. I was like, how much do I want to commit here? And what was funny too, when we left, when we finished that scene and we were packing up the cameras, I saw some bloke come out that was having a massage the whole time in the next room. And we lived through all of that.
He's trying to have a nice tranquil afternoon. He's here, getting you
has no idea you're in character either.
Getting your dangleberries ripped out one by one.
He was probably having a happy ending anyway.
Looked like that type of joint.
Yeah.
What was that setup? Did you just have the one camera in there and then you got Peter Phelps in at the end and everything? That was sweet with the whole production.
It was basically just, we'd said, I said, hey, I'm going to come in. Here's the cash. Next time I come in, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And we had 2 cameras. So, and we had 2 cameras for the whole thing, just so we didn't miss anything. And I was able to have editing options and stuff. But yeah, we just went in there and they just followed the whole thing. Like the amount of footage we had is insane.
Mm.
And, she didn't have a mic or anything. So the sound he was trying to put my ass in her mouth. And then, the only thing I said was, all right, can you just stop waxing my ass for a second? Peter, you're coming in now.
I'm done. Cut.
Directing from the
what was funny as well with Peter Phelps, that was his first scene. That was the first day of shooting.
Really?
Oh, true.
He came in and I hadn't, because I was on the table. He had arrived and gotten in costume. I hadn't even said hello to him yet. The first thing he sees is my... And I'm going, boss man.
It's a nice way to greet a fellow colleague.
And he's easily the highest profile actor on the show as well. You're probably the most nervous about working with him.
Yeah, him and Steve, the guy who played Dad as well. Like, Steve Marquand's a bit of a hero to me because he's like, he was in 2 hands. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, he's like, shot, he's a good mate. Like, that's like a thing me and my mates say probably once a week to each other.
Yeah.
So to get him on was massive. And Phelps, he just, when he talks, he just sounds like a plumber.
He does. He was so believable.
Yeah, a washed up Scotty Cam.
Yeah. We when we were watching it, because we're both probably a bit too young to remember Peter Phelps of Baywatch days, but I'm not sure how across the podcast you are, but we have a residential reviewer every week who's my dad. Our one biggest fan. So every episode he leaves a review and he'll watch most of the things that we talk about. So I've got him onto it, and he's probably not your target demo, but he's loving it as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
How old is he?
Oh, he's 53.
Oh, yeah.
He'd
He be loving Phelpsy.
Oh, he loved that. So he told me who he was. He said Peter Phelps is an iconic Aussie actor. I had no idea. And he sends through a photo of him on Baywatch back in his heyday, and I was like, "That's not the same guy."
No.
He's gorgeous.
I know, and he was in a show called Blue Murder as well, which was like this hardcore cop show. It was like Underbelly before Underbelly back in the day, and like him, and there was like 3 other blokes just like him, and it was like, they were like these blue collar detective cops, and they used to just fucking smash each other like for real in the scenes. And there's like all this mythology about these guys during the filming of the show called Blue Murder, and they just like, they actually were like, listen, you're gonna come on this show, you're actually gonna get punched in the face, you're okay with that? And it's just like it's like notorious for it. But he was good. I remember the guy who plays Grub, he co-directed.
Yeah.
And he directed Phelpsy on another feature. And he's like, it'd be good for Boss Man. It's Peter Phelps. And I was like, yeah, well, let's set up a meeting. So I said, do you want to have a coffee? We'll talk about it. Because I hate sending scripts or like over email. You don't get tone. You don't know the style. And also because I didn't have much budget, I knew I'd have to win him over with the story, not the money. And so he was like, yeah, let's catch up with a coffee. And I said, well, where do you want to meet? And he goes, well, my pub sells coffee, so let's go there. And I rocked up for our meeting for me to pitch to him. And he's sitting there with like 6 other of the most manly fucking blokes you've ever seen. They're all sitting like their legs are so spread, like they got the biggest nuts in the world. They've all got mass scooters of 4X skulls. Half of them don't have any teeth in their gob. And they're like, Rick, come over here. I'm thinking, oh, fuck, here we go. It was like I had to go through initiation of his mates.
Yeah.
And I got blind. And before we ended up peeling off and talking about the show, I remember sitting with him just being like, oh, I've got to pull it together because I am like, it does not take long for me to get smashed.
So you and Frank clearly have some similarities then.
Yeah. I mean, people always ask me that. I think so a lot of people, it depends on the mood I'm in. If I'm having a beer, then Frankie definitely starts to be like, I just want to like grab you. You know what I mean? I just want to like squeeze your nuts, something like that. But, he's a massive, he's a Terry Tough Nut. He's a tosser. He's a drop kick, and I personally, I can be very reserved, and I can be like, I love meeting those people just so I can watch them.
Yeah.
I love watching them put their foot in it.
But
I love it.
Yeah. We were saying when we were watching it, we've got a few mates with a lot of Frankie in them.
Yeah.
And they're just train wrecks to watch, like physically break shit and just emotionally as well, as far as relationships. It's like, how do you have that as your life all the time?
Too much of a god complex for someone who's just a bit of a Neanderthal.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why there's so much ego and so much of that, like you said, god complex. That's what makes them think they're mightier than what they actually are. And
no self-awareness, zero self-awareness.
No.
I love it though. I think the world's a better place for it, like having those guys out there to just laugh at.
Yeah.
As long as they're not, like Frankie's obviously got some massive hang-ups, but I got some guys out there that are like that, and it's just because they just want to be loose.
Yeah.
They just want to be fucking weird units, but they don't actually have any real issues. They just like fucking making a spectacle of themselves.
Yeah. The perfect example I can think of is Frankie when his DMs start to blow up when he's one of the finalists, and he's like, look at how popular I am. Oh, these guys, this one's called me a tosser. Just like, yeah, it's pretty funny, eh? It's like, these people are insulting you, man. You're too thick to get that people hate you.
Yeah. I know. I met a guy on the tools once, and he, Frankie's very much based on this guy as well as a few others. He would always go, just randomly for no reason, he'd just go, ew, at the top of his, and he'd come to work. And he'd always just, catcall birds walking past.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking wish, baby, and all that sort of stuff, right? And he'd just be like, fucking look at the fucking kid. Like, oh, if she had a fucking minute with me, she wouldn't regret it. That sort of shit. And then one day, his girlfriend turned up that no one knew he had. She was quite large. Right, like overweight and not necessarily attractive, like he, basically
like you would assume,
the norm is.
Yeah.
And she's coming to bring his lunch because he'd forgot his lunch.
Oh no!
And he fucking said, "Get the fuck off!" and just told her off. And I remember just all of us just going, "You fuckhead," And she got in the car. Drove off. He didn't say a word for the rest of the day because the secret was out. And then the next day he came back and it was like nothing had ever happened.
Yeah, we had one bad take, boys. The show must go on.
But like that for me, in a nutshell, is Frankie Wood. Like I'm the lad, I'm the legend, I'm all of this. And then when, you push me too much or you see too deep in there, it's just tragic. It's ugly when you peel too much under there.
Tom was just saying, or like we were saying when we were watching, we rewatched a few of the episodes this morning. Episode 5, that when you go into the top 3 finalists go into the radio station, and there's a point where they interview or they turn to Frankie and go, right, so give us your sales pitch. And he just like, there's a point where he's still a bit disheveled from what happened the night before with Summer, and he just kind of has to like compute for a moment and then switch on again and just
Yeah, I know. Yobbo.
Yeah,
so good.
But even though he was in that point of despair, it was just like, nah, the larrikin must live on. Keep it going.
Yeah, and also just like to expect that a radio announcer is going to know what the fuck that means. Everyone gets you.
Yeah.
Like, what did you guys think? What did you guys think of the ending when he gets in the car and he drives home and he has it out with the old man? Was that? Did you guys ever feel it coming?
Nah, I was saying to Jake, the fact that you can go from comedy and carrying the whole thing comedically and guys watching it for that, and then to switch around at the end and act your dick off, not to fucking get on the dick too hard, but we were watching.
Get on it.
Don't want your head to get too big.
Don't start sucking yourself off.
Hang on a second, boys.
That was quick.
If you just disappeared under frame for God knows what for a second. But it's so rare to find someone that can go from the comedic to the drama and carry both. I'm like, the only guys that come to mind is like a Ricky Gervais, like Chris Lilly sometimes, like a Steve Carell, but I'm sure you've seen, it's not common. So when that happened, like I finished the season a couple of days ago. I didn't remember because it stuck with me. It had quite an impact, but I wasn't remembering any of the jokes. The shit that stuck with me was that fucking blow up with Steve at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see it coming now.
Yeah, I think.
Powerful scene.
Sorry.
No, you're right. You go.
I was just going to say, like you're right. Like Ricky's so good at doing that. You know who else because I grew up with it. I'm sure you guys did as well. But Robin Williams was so good at that. Like he could be the silliest, fucking stupidest doctor in the world, but then he'll be standing up at some stage in that film towards the end. He's going to be standing up in the courtroom,
Yes.
and he's gonna drop it all, and he's just gonna make everyone just go, oh fuck. And I just think any good comedy that I personally like, I mean, there's a lot of good comedies out there that are just purely wacky and silly, but any comedy that stays with you that I personally love are the ones that have got that other layer, that sort of that backbone of something a little bit more something grounded in truth and tragedy. And what's his name? The guy who does all of the Will Ferrell movies.
Hill. Oh,
No, the director. Is it Adam McKay?
Adam McKay, yeah.
Either Adam McKay or Judd Apatow. I can't remember which one it was, but they always say good comedies could also just very quickly be a drama. You know, you could just act it differently and take the jokes out, and it could still be a good film in a drama sense. And I very much like try and stay close to that.
Yeah. Well, put it this way: if it was dick jokes and shit jokes and like sexist jokes for 6 episodes, we would have fucking turned it off after 3. But you see early on, there's the through line for the whole show is your relationship with your dad. And that's why you're doing this whole thing. And that's what you stick around for. It's not like you'll get some blokes who watch it and they just find Frankie hilarious and that's enough. Yeah. And I'm sure they'll enjoy it. But I'd say everyone who watches it you smack them over the head with that at the end. And that's what they'll remember. It's not the shitting in the sink.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing we had to try and balance, you know, because, you know, the network are very much like, you know, they know what kind of rates on 7 Mate, and shows like Fat Pizza and stuff are very popular on that show, and they do rate well. So, you know, it was quite a big undertaking for me to go, all right, I've got a story I want to tell, but I do need to put some silliness in there. But so, yeah, it was really quite hard trying to find out when to start loading up the family stuff. Yeah. Which is why I said I like it from ep 3 on, because ep 1 and 2's funny, and you get obviously nuggets of the old man, like when he gets the phone call and the old man just goes, catch you later, you know. And you know, I'm down to watch the footy because I can't handle my son having any type of success. So for me, it was really hard to not add more of that in earlies, to let an audience go, oh, this isn't just silly, this has got a lot more to it. But I knew if I went too heavy as well, I could have completely lose the network. So it was a definite a balancing act, and one that I learned a lot from in just like a writing headspace.
How much creative control do you have when you come over with something like this? Are they with you the whole way through, or are you showing them the
that was why I wanted to make it really cheap, so that they would just go, let him do it, it's not costing us anything. So they were very much like, I said, you sure I can say this and I can do that? And they were like, yeah, go for it. Like, have you seen Fat Pizza? That's your guide. If you're under Fat Pizza, you're laughing. And I was like, I'm not going anywhere near Fat Pizza. I mean, those guys are just sucking crystal meth and there's just tits on, you know, it's just so full on that show. It's amazing that it's like, it does air. But yeah, I think they were really good to just let me do it because it was so cheap, I think. And I wanted that too. Like, if they had said to me, we'll give you 10 times your budget, but with that comes a lot more cooks in the kitchen, I wouldn't have wanted it.
It's that I imagine you've seen Extras, being a Gervais fan. Battling with that, do I sell out and make When the Whistle Blows as a broad live studio audience sitcom, or do I set it out to make The Office, basically?
And I've had, you know, as an actor, I've, you know, like, just to pay the bills, I've done When the Whistle Blows. I've done a lot of When the Whistle Blows.
Well, I suppose you can't say, but I know you're on Home and Away.
Yeah, so I did Home and
Oh,
Away during COVID when everything shut down.
Yeah,
Home and Away was kind of like the only thing that was still going.
yeah.
And, like, not
Of course
to,
it was. COVID's not going to stop the show that doesn't end.
Yeah.
If it goes for
Yeah.
nothing, is going to kill that show.
exactly. They took like a week off.
Cool.
But yeah, like I actually I went on Home and Away twice. I played two different characters. When I first got out of drama school, I went on as a rapist. And absolutely nailed that role. And then years later, just recently, I went back on during COVID because financially it was kind of a good reason. But also I knew I'd be working with I was going to be working with some of the good actors like Georgie Parker and some of that sort of stuff. So I knew I'd be in good hands. But yeah, the writing is what it is. It's a soap, and nothing changes, and it's just sort of they just keep on repeating it. And but it's a bloody good wicket, man. Those actors that are on there, they are like, acting is a really fickle game, and every day you wake up, if you don't have a job, or even when you do have a job and you don't know how the hell you're going to make this consistent. And that show's like one of the only shows where people have that consistency. So they're really happy on that show. It's a good wicket for a lot of actors.
Yeah.
Why would you leave? Hey,
100%. I mean, we reviewed Neighbours a few months back, and look at I don't know his name, but whoever plays Tradie on that, like, he's just been a staple of Australian television for 30 years every night. Like,
and he'd have some coin. He'd have some coin too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
As long as you're, and I mean, that gets to a point where, it's just a job, and I'm sure maybe they had visions of being Daniel Day-Lewis when they started out pursuing acting, but like what you're doing, where you're doing your Home and Aways, but then you're bashing out Australia's Sexiest Tradie, fucking, projects that are your baby and your fingerprints are all over. That must feel nice to fucking have that balance, right?
Yeah, well, I really wanted to keep that creative control because, like, I'm happy to sell my soul and do whatever for acting, because it's just, you're just playing another character. Sometimes you do something really good and sometimes you do something shite. But with the stuff that I'm making, so we made our own production company so that there was no one else. So my wife she's great at doing a lot of the producery stuff, reaching out to agents, the books, all that sort of stuff. And I kind of live a bit more in the creative area. And it's just great because it means that we don't have to pay 1,000 people, and therefore we can keep our sort of budgets low, and then we can go to 7 and 9 and ABC and hopefully Stan or Netflix and say, listen, we can give you pretty good content for a lot cheaper. So hopefully that's, I'm doing another show with 7mate that we start shooting next month.
What's that? Can you talk about
That's called, I think they might have just announced it or they're about to. It's about, it's another mockumentary.
Okay.
But it's different. It's like the style's a little bit more Netflix than kind of, like those docos when you see on, Tiger King. It's more that kind of style. It's called Watchdog. It's about a useless security guard that they kind of follow him and the security outfit that he works. Because where I live up in the northern beaches, there's no police presence at all because there's no crime. So there's nothing to do. And so all they have is some like souped up security guards driving around thinking they're just like the sheriffs of town. And they got no gun. All they got is a flashlight and a bit of mace. And, the hair slicked back and all that. It's just cringe. So I just thought, what a cool character to play, something like that. So that's the next one.
Okay. So that's you as well, the whole that you've written it.
Yeah, it'll be me with it'll be a little bit more like, there will be a lot more supporting characters in this than there was with Frankie. It's another thing is it's just like, it makes it more affordable. I actually really don't want to have to play these leads, but can't afford a lot of people that probably would do a good job of it. and
Give you more
because-
freedom keeping that cost down as well, right? They'll
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, if we have reshoots and stuff,
Yeah.
I can grab a camera and go out and get it. So at the moment, because I really would like to step back and play more of a supporting character, just be that loose unit that you just need for like 5 minutes to spice up a show.
Yeah. Comedy relief.
Yeah, just coming in. But at the moment, I am having to, and because it's so improvised, like Curb Your Enthusiasm and stuff, we have no script. It's just outlines.
Yeah.
You know, I can kind of direct in the scene with the other actors as well, which helps as well.
Have you heard of a show? This might not land, but did you ever watch a show called People Just Do Nothing?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw a lot of, again, a lot of inspiration in there. I fucking love
but you
that
know
show.
what?
No one's
I only saw that after I made Tradies though.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mate, how much have you seen?
Not much. I started watching after I saw an episode of that, and then I saw an episode of, it's a UK one where they're like DJs.
That's People Just Do Nothing, where they're guerrilla radio guys.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I was thinking of another show. I'm getting two shows mixed up. So that, and I saw another one in the UK. Anyway, yeah, I saw it after because I saw Post Malone do something with him, and then I went and looked at those guys, and I saw that it's on. Is it on Netty?
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
on Netflix.
The reason I assumed that you'd seen it beforehand, there's literally a scene where the main character, who's got a lot of Frankie in him, like he's got a missus who adores him, but he just wants to be famous.
Right.
He's real fun.
No, I haven't seen enough. I haven't seen enough of it.
I won't tell you what happens, but there's one scene in it where you'll go, fuck, that's a lot like Tradie. Yeah.
Isn't that funny that we're like, because I guarantee you he'd be super inspired by Gervais's office and stuff too. It's so funny, isn't it? Because I took trades, like the trades, the tools, what I had, and he obviously does some sort of DJing, or he has some sort of history in that.
Yeah.
And then you sprinkle in the girlfriend and stuff. It's so funny how we could be so similar.
That's the beautiful thing about you. You were saying how strange it was to go to acting class and then go and do your high pressure digging hoses afterwards. Like no one else was doing that. But all the other acting students are fucking going to acting class and then going to movies and then going to other acting classes and just hanging out with actors. So if you don't go live some real life outside of the world of acting, you've got nothing to bring into it. That's why you've got something to say, because there's this other world. And
also, I think with actors as well, like, this isn't true for everyone, but like if you got an actor from the city putting on an Ocker accent, trying to be country, you can smell it instantly. You go, something's off here.
For sure.
And I grew up in like a very, I grew up in North Queensland, Townsville. And when I was there, and, I was there for 20 years, very racist at times, very, I remember going to school and it was like that film in America, A Dangerous, the one where Gangster's Paradise is from, where the white teacher turns up and stuff. I remember there was like a line, it wasn't drawn, but there was a line that were the Aboriginal kids and there were the white kids. And like
the 90s.
Punch ups, on a daily basis. I remember crossing the street if I saw like a bunch, if I was by myself, and vice versa. If we were in a group and we saw it was full on. And also that mixed with just the most like Aussie family and friends surrounding me. Like I've definitely had a little bit of a different sort of, like, not many people from that world go into acting,
No one in acting has that background.
So I think I owe it to myself. There are others, obviously. I'm not the only one. I'm not a unicorn. There are a lot of like Joel Edgerton. I remember hearing a quote. Someone said that the beauty of Joel Edgerton is that he looks like a brickie, but he's got the heart of
poet.
like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you see someone pretty
Yeah.
and then they're being all poetic, it's like if you get Joel Edgerton, it looks like he's just headbutted a wall or something.
Yeah. It's polarizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also just, like he hasn't had things given to him in his life that has made him,
We spoke at nauseum about that. Our second episode was Joel Edgerton's Australian story, where where they talked to him for 90 minutes, and we fell in love with him just through that. Like obviously we'd seen him before, but we were talking on that episode and it's the same kind of applies to you, where you're like a Trojan horse. You're this gruff. Joel Edgerton's this gruff guy who's blokey and super fun to be around on the beers, and then you can't see it going this other way, where you come through and do that final scene with Steve, and that's why it's so fucking effective when it does happen.
Yeah, great. That's very kind. If you ever want to like put me in the same bag as Joel Edgerton, I'll play he's phenomenal.
Brother.
Oh, I actually auditioned to play his brother on a feature film in like 2009 when I first got out of drama school, and I was like, oh, please, come on. Didn't get it.
What was that for?
I got a rapist on Home and Away that week.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah. I actually, no, you know what I did get? I did an ad. I did an ad that went super popular. Later that week, I actually remember being really down. I didn't get it. And then I got this ad where I had to put Libra pads all over me. And it was my first year.
I know the ad, yeah.
It was my first year out of drama school. And I was like, I'm never going to work again.
I vividly remember that ad.
But it went really well. I mean, it paid my rent for like 4 years. It was phenomenal. It ended up being a good thing.
Yeah, that was you, Rick, in the ad with the pads on you, and you're doing these ones.
Yeah, yes.
Oh my god! I thought you were saying you missed out on that. I didn't know that was you.
No. And you know what else was interesting is the guy who played Grub, Jace. He was down to me and him were down to the last two for it.
Yeah, right.
That's so funny. I've seen that.
He would have been better than me, to be honest. At that, he would have smashed that.
Yeah. It's funny how many times you see a fucking ad. Like that was played so well. Like that, I would have seen that, over 100 times. I've seen your face, and then you pop up, and it's like, I haven't seen this guy.
Yeah.
It's massive, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no one. You know what? I quite like. I've been acting for quite a while, and I've done quite a few. Like I do get. I get a lot of people looking at me like, who is this? I know that came from somewhere,
Yeah.
But I don't ever want to, unless I'm on a show at the time and people are like seeing it and then going, I hope I always stay at a place where it's just always that, I think I know that face, but I don't, because I reckon that next level would be pretty full on.
Yeah, nauseating. The novelty would wear off very quickly when you're getting swarmed by crowds.
Yeah, I actually thought if Tradies ever blew up, I thought it'd probably be a bad thing, because I reckon blokes would want to knock me out. Because if I was at a pub and I saw him and I was smashed, I'd be like, "You're a fuckhead, mate." I'd be uppercutting him, like there are blokes out there, they get blind and they just want to knock out someone they've seen on TV,
Yeah.
You have to shave the beard and dye the hair, mate.
Yeah. I'll just bleach it.
As far as the show goes, mate, you kind of touched on it before with some of the plumber stories that you've heard, with the war stories. How much of it is inspired by true stories? Like, was there ever a point where you had to change your dad's shitty diaper after he had a liter of rum the night before?
I mean, look, my dad's. I should just say, my dad is the nicest bloke in the world.
But
no. So, like, because a few people ask, is like, "Jesus, you're old man like that? Are you all right?" And I'm like, it's not based on my dad at all. Yeah. My dad is like the biggest. Like, he's just a big kid, but very much like that kind of man cave where the old man has. my dad and his mates have a thing called the Barley Hut, and they made it a barley themed hut, and they just like the next door neighbor, they just come over with their beers and they all just stand around, they watch footy and they just drink piss, they just suck back piss.
The Australian dream.
Totally. And they're all drinking out of date beer because it's cheaper, and it's like, but in terms of like the tradie stories, they're all real life stories. So like a guy shitting in a vase, that happened, not to me, but to mates of mine. Shitting's a big one. I could have done 6 episodes on shitting stories at clients. Like there's like my brother's he was a Sparky, and he used to fucking turn up, and he'd always know the plasters had been there before him. They'd always shit in a painter's bucket because there was no toilets rigged up yet. There'd always be a bucket somewhere in the house with a big fucking snake in there. So there were a lot of those, and there were a lot I just couldn't tell. Like there was one of the best ones I wanted to use was there was an apprentice and his first day on, and there was this real just piece of work woman. She turned up and she was like, "You guys aren't fucking doing that, you're late," just being a nightmare client. And she was just so mean to the guys. And the apprentice for his first week, they had to rip down a wall, and they ripped it down, and in there was like some full-on porn pictures of her. And he was looking at him, and he was going, "Fucking hell," and he was like going through them all. And then he turned around and she was standing there watching him watch them. There's other ones with like,
if you want to put that in the show, you wouldn't believe it. Like that's real life, but that's over the top on the screen.
Yeah.
And that's what's nice about the improv nature of the show as well, is like we're saying like the reactions you're getting are like 90% of the time they're really real. It's not like I have some scripted stuff, things that I need like landmarks, like we need to hit this beat at the moment. But like there'll be just like some of the times me and Jason were just driving around and we'd just keep the microphones recording, and we'd just talk about, in our characters' heads, we just talk about shit. And a lot of it never saw the light of day, but when you do hear it, you go, "Fuck, that doesn't sound scripted," which is so much. For me, it's refreshing anyway.
Yeah, Grub had one of the best lines in this series when you're driving to go for beers on Fridays for the boys, and he was like, "Grub, tell the people at home some stories about me," and Grub says something like, "Oh, if I could tell you some of the stories that he's told me."
Jace is so good at that. Like he'll be in a whole scene and he'll say one line and it'll be the funniest line in the whole scene.
Yeah.
He is so good at that, and he's actually a better joke writer than I am. My stuff's all character. Like it's all this guy, like not necessarily being funny, like you're laughing at him, you're not laughing with him. Whereas I just don't have that quickness like Jace. Jace is he has another one he does. He says, when I'm farting at the front in episode, before I shit in the episode, shit in the vase, and I'm like talking to the guy, and I'm like struggling, like it's coming because I've had all the coffee.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Fuck, I got a gutsy." And he said, "Just wipe it with the end of your boxes."
That's right.
And I remember thinking, that's just amazing. Like I would never have written that, but also never in that split moment of thought or like you said, saying, if I could tell you some of the stories that he's told me, like there's a lot in that, and to say it that quick is.
Yeah.
When he said that, I went, "That's the scene. That's the line that's written in that scene." If I could tell you some of the stories about some of the stories he's told me, I was like, they worked up to that, and the whole thing is around it. But the fact that that's improv is fucking,
brilliant.
In fact, anything that we planned, I ended up getting the shits with because I felt like it was, we were starting to get a little bit too stale, and 99% of the time, if I'd ever written something, I'd be like, "Oh, let's just all forget that. We all know that. Let's go a new angle," and then it would be great because it would be fresh, and we'd all be listening, and we'd be, the amount of times I'd look over at the camera and I'd just see it shaking because the guy would be fucking absolutely cackling. Like, that's how we knew. We was like, okay, the scene's going well, the camera's shaking.
Yeah, we need a new gimbal.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Was this, I mean, in 2021, they say, comedy is dead. And how much do you buy into that rhetoric with people going like, you can't make anything funny anymore because PC culture is too fucking hectic? Do you put much stock in that, or?
For me, it excites me because I go, there's so many thirsty people out there waiting for just someone to push back. So I get excited by that. And I always love looking to the stand-ups as well, like Bill Burr and, Jim Jeffries or, Louis C.K. before he started, but even Louis is still great. I mean, what he did wasn't necessarily the best thing.
Fan of Louis.
We've got a great clip we can show you on Louis C.K. We'll send you it after the show.
Yeah, like those guys have you heard of what's his name? The Tiger Belly guy.
Yeah, Joe Exotic. Oh, wait, no.
Tiger Belly.
He's an Asian. He's got a podcast.
Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been like going on these crazy like rabbit holes of Bobby Lee lately.
Yeah.
And there is no filter.
Yeah.
At all. And it is the most refreshing thing in the world. And I can't imagine, unless you are the PC police, that you are watching Bobby Lee and not feeling refreshed at his unfilteredness. Obviously, networks aren't going to let me make what I like. I mean, well, they let me make Australia's Sexiest Tradie, but that was because I had to put it on a multi-channel where it was kind of hard to find and they weren't risking much on it. But yeah, to answer your question, it excites me, but I just hope I have enough. I have enough to be able to make it myself and convince a Stan or a Netflix or someone to watch it and go, yeah, you know what? I think this is all right. I think we can swing at this.
Yeah.
Or that like something like Tradies eventually picks up some steam and word of mouth, and people go, oh yeah, we actually do want to see some more of this stuff.
I mean, it's an opportunity for you. A lot of people see a climate in a certain state and they go, oh, I can't make that kind of thing anymore. But I mean, if you're like you see it as an opportunity. As 10 years ago, everyone was making that shit and you probably wouldn't stand out from the crowd. But now if you make it, you're one of the few guys out there doing it. So it gives you a difference.
But it's also just like, what's funny is some people don't like, it really is only affecting those people that do like writing that type of stuff. And I'm like, this is the world I like. Like the next show is going to be like, I'm going to try and be incredibly shocking and bold in the stories that I tell with that as well. And but a lot of people don't make that shit that is going to potentially offend people. So for them, I think they're fine. But yeah, for anyone that is trying to make something that is going to offend someone, I think it is a bit shit in that respect. But I would never. Luckily, I can make enough coin from acting. That it just doesn't matter if it doesn't work. I'll still be all right. Thank God for that. Otherwise, I may start, trying to shape it a little bit more to fit a box. But I never want to get to that place.
Yeah. As you said, it's a great way to look at it with everything that's going on with a progressive world and social commentary, that it's almost an opportunity to take a little bit of the power back and bring something, as you said, refreshing to the community. Speaking of opportunity, how have you found things? Because obviously you've been producing AST throughout the past 12 or 18 months. How have you found things during lockdown and more recently, during COVID and more recently with lockdown?
Yeah, we've got a kid. We've got a 2.5-year-old toddler. So it's kind of, life doesn't feel that much different because like every day is just full on. So like if I was single, like some of my single mates, they'd just be tearing their hair out. They're like, fuck, I want to go out. I need to socialize. But I kind of feel like in a lot of ways, just home life wise and social life wise, it hasn't been too bad for us because, you know, every day we got a bit exhausted from just having a kid. Making the show, though, you know, we had to push it back a couple of times because of COVID. Just like we were supposed to have already shot the show that I was telling you guys about that's coming up next, but we've had to push that back. So it's been a little bit shit for that. But, you know, the process has been like AST, talking about that in particular, it's been quite interesting because you spend so much time making a show. And what I'll come back to this, but what was interesting about your podcast too, when you guys were talking in episode 40, was you guys said that the show would have worked well if it had have been like following 3 tradies, right? It's like sharing it out so that Frankie's not so full on for some people that aren't really, you know, if you don't like I know a lot of people that can't watch David Brent in The Office, you know, they can't watch that. It's too cringy. Yeah. And it's funny you said that because the very first sort of outline of the script was following 3. But then I kind of felt like this is too Chris Lilly. Even though I wasn't playing all 3, that would have been ridiculously Chris Lilly. But, you know, it was, for me, it was, I just thought it was really interesting because it was that. It was that for a very long time, and there's pros and cons to it, and you know you got to weigh it up and you go, oh, do I go? Then we got a chance at 3 bites at the apple, you know, like an audience, well, they might not like 2 of them, but they'll stick around for 1, you know. And then you go, but then you can't go as deep with 1. And eventually it actually just came down to budget again. It was like, we haven't got the money for all these different worlds. You know, we got to set up 3, got to rent out 3 houses, and then we need to pay 3 actors. And so, but it was interesting you guys said that because that's where it had started.
How different were those 3 characters?
God, it was so long ago now because, so we had 2 guys and a girl. The girl was a fake. She was like a millennial, you know, influencer that was very keen to become a model. And when you win the $5,000, if you win, you also get a little modeling contract. Like you get to be on like Zoo with your tits out or something like that. That's what it was. Yeah. So she's like, oh yeah, I'm a tradie, you know, because she just wanted to win that. Yeah. But her sister was the real tradie, and she looked like a bucket of shit sort of thing. And so it was really about those 2, just like the sister that works her guts out in the tools and gets nothing, and now there's the sister that's just there for a moment, just like, so they ended up having a massive blue. And what was the other one? What's the other guy? Oh, the other guy was Max, the guy who played Max.
Yeah. Oh, the gay guy.
No, the bald fella.
No.
Oh, the bald guy. Oh,
yeah,
I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
His was going to be that his missus popped him in, and that all of the boys his was going to be more about just the boys ripping on him constantly. And he ended up having like a real shit mother-in-law, and that his missus, and you know, it was more about just hanging out with the boys and copping it. That's where a lot of that was going to be.
Bit of a palate cleanser. Yeah,
but you know, it was early days when I was thinking about that, so the ideas didn't get too fleshed out.
Yeah. Was 7 the first place you went for this? Because like it's like we said on the podcast last week, it feels like an ABC or an SBS show.
Yeah.
From, you know, maybe 10 years ago. Slot right in there next to Chase's War and, you know, fucking
Spics and Specs.
Did you approach any of those guys before you went to 7, or was 7 your first choice?
Oh, well, they reached out to me because they had seen a short film I did called The ATM, and a couple of like the scouts or whatever, they sort of said, have you got anything else? You know, like, because we saw that you wrote and directed that. Is there anything else you're interested in? And then I ended up going in for a meeting They had an idea. I'd sent them a pilot, like a 4 or 5 minute little pitch that I shot of basically just Frankie, if he was just on his phone going, hey, put me, like a Big Brother audition for Australia's Sexiest Tradie.
Yeah.
You know, I had like AC/DC in the background, just like doing push-ups and shit. And they had that, and then I didn't hear anything from them for a while. And then like a month or so later, they actually, it was weird that they pulled my show with the guys who do Bondi Hipsters.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, because they had an idea kind of very different to mine, but they could merge together. So they said, we think you and your shows together could be something. But very quickly, like, I know the hipster guys, and very quickly we were like, no, I don't think this is necessarily right. Our shows are both their own shows, you know.
Yeah.
So then I went away, and then I said, listen, here's a bit, I did a bit more because I knew they were interested now. And I said, what do you think? And they were like, yeah, we love it. Let's do it. Especially when I said how cheap I could make it. Yeah, and then we made it. So I didn't get shopped around anywhere else. And I really don't think anywhere but 7mate really would be the one to take the gamble early. If it does well, then I could see potentially like somewhere like a Nettie or a Stan going, oh yeah, you know, it's done well.
It'd fit in perfectly. Like, I'm just thinking Netflix has got Rostered On. I don't know if you've seen that, the like retail mockumentary show that blew up, and that's like, it's good, but it's not. I don't think it's as good as Tradie.
It's not groundbreaking.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. It has to start out on a sister channel kind of thing, and then see how it goes, and then
and I think that's just you know, like a part of any creative sort of, you know, I never really expected it to blow up or anything like that. What I hoped is that I'd have something really good that the people that did see it really liked, and we could start hopefully getting some sort of relationship with an audience of the stuff that I make.
Yeah.
So they go, oh yeah, I'll watch that next one because I like the first one. But also just to have a really good business card, you know, from when we do go to a stand or something and go, look, here's a series.
Yeah.
You'll understand my tone very quickly.
Yeah. let me show you instead of tell you. Yeah.
But that's why I'm making, you know, I've got this show coming up and potentially another one with 7mate, and you know, so we'll have a good, not making any money from any of them, mind you, but I'm making it the way I want to make it. So we'll at least hopefully have a good portfolio for the future.
Have you ever had is there ever a conflict of interest between your home and away directors going, can you not be such a dead shit on this other show? Because it's gonna, especially on the same channel, right? Does that bleed over at all? Do you get in trouble?
No, it's a good question. And it doesn't. I know if I was a like long-term character on that show, I was only on for like 4 months, but if I was a full-timer, that could be a conversation, I reckon, if they were really investing in me. But not really, man. I think, you know, they just want people to be, what's the word? Like as popular as they can be, so that it brings more people in. But you're right. If I was, you know, being homophobic or racist, then that's going to be a massive. But do you guys think, it's a question for you guys, do you think that because I know I get close, you know, I've got a gay guy in there that tries to take me home. You know, I'm very misogynistic in a lot of ways when it comes to girls and stuff. Did you guys ever feel like it was malicious?
I wouldn't say that. I think I said to Tom when we went after our initial watch of the show, only watching a couple of episodes, I said, like, I found it funny, and I can see where the joke is being made as far as you said, this character is not someone you laugh with, it's someone you laugh at. But there is going to be a chunk of the population who don't get it. And I don't know if you're someone who goes and, you know, is hungry for feedback. But when we looked at the IMDb, there's a couple of comments on there that you could tell was either a Karen or a mum of some sort, just going, Frankie's the most misogynistic, racist, regressive person we've seen. I can't believe he's given the time of day. This is not the person.
I've seen that review. You know, it's funny because, you've got to kind of go. Obviously, everyone's got different, temperaments but I wonder what, like, my mum, for example, she's like, "Oh, Ricky, I wish you hadn't have done the bit at the end, like with the dad wanking over the phone and stuff." Up until then, and then you did that. Now I can't share that on Facebook, So obviously, like everyone's gonna have
world building, mum. Grow up.
I'm like, Mum, you better share this fucking video.
That was your favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, how it was to make this shit. But she's a little bit older, so it's so hard to know, like you said, like, who is this Karen? You know what I mean? Like, what have I really done? Have I done it? And so you don't understand who that person is behind that comment. It could be someone that just sits there, just, a warrior, just going on, just like validate me. Or it could be actually a really actual normal person, and I have overstepped. But I was interested, what did you guys think?
I don't think you overstepped. I was surprised to see this in the, like I said, the 2021 that we're in, because I haven't seen anything like it in a while. I don't think it was overstep as far as gross out or like he's a piece of shit, I can't get behind him. I think if he had more shades of light earlier on, I think we mentioned this in the podcast. I think it'd be easy to get behind, like to root for. Like we kind of mentioned, if Brent was like, Brent is, you can't get behind him. He doesn't really have any shades of light until maybe the last episode. If he was your main character without a Tim there to watch, to connect with as an audience, to see the through,
then you've just got a prick.
You've just got a prick, It'd be hard to root for anyone.
Totally, and that's me swinging. That's me having a swing.
Yeah.
I'm very interested. Yeah. That's me. Like I whenever I see movies, like I love the villains in shows, and I love it when I come across something that I'm like, oh, the villain's the hero, the main character. And that's why, like, I remember when I heard Suicide Squad was coming out, I was like, oh yes, I want to see these guys slitting innocents' throats.
Yeah.
And I want to like go into the mind of a psycho, right? And like I want, like, because we never see that. It's always that, and so that's me. And you're totally right. Like we are like watchers. We like watching. Viewers feel comfortable when they know they've got some sort of structure, because otherwise it's like, where the fuck am I? Like, this is, I know when I watch a show, if I'm like, this is too weird setup, I'm out. I'm like, I want out. So it's like I shot myself in the foot a little bit, but it was a choice, and it's good. It's all learning. It's all learning curves.
It's bold, man. You put the bad guy front and center, and there's so few redeeming qualities about him, and you've gone, either get behind him or don't. It's like I mean, you think about Breaking Bad, which is, an anti-hero, or Sopranos. Like, it is getting more and more common, but almost every other show has
Barry too.
Barry, love Barry. To go, it's like you said, it's you swinging. It's
but you're right, all of those shows you just mentioned, they set up a lot more of a reason to be a prick than I did. And I think, going forward, I'll probably add a little bit more likability into, like, this new character, for example, he's an absolute, like, he's a unit. Like, he is just totally what's the word? What's the word? He's fucking so just useless, right? Like, just not good at his job. I don't know what that word is, but he's useless. And but it's not mean. So I think instantly, and I already know, like, I'm a bit hot under the collar going, fuck, people, I don't know if they're going to like this guy. I know they'll be able to laugh at him.
Yeah.
You know, because he's not outwardly mean. He's just a toss. He's just useless.
Yeah. Well, that can be more endearing sometimes. It's like Steve Carell is almost the fool. Like, he's bad at his job. He's a bit of a clown, and you're laughing at him because he's useless. But ultimately, he just wants to be loved.
Yeah.
Whereas Brooke is more like your Frankie. Whereas, why is this guy such a prick? Why is he so rude to his girlfriend? Why is he so rude to his best mate who looks up to him? Everyone around him who loves him treats like a piece of shit.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like you mentioned at the very start of our chat, but you're not going to win over new fans by fence sitting. Like there's no catching lightning in a bottle just by trying to make a palatable, comedy act where you could have the bumbling idiot or the useless guy, the deadweight, whatever you want to call him, and then he goes home and he waters his mum's plants. Like that's fine, but like unless you're having a character where they really do push that envelope, you're not going to be breaking new ground.
Oh,
you there, mate?
Frankie? I mean,
still with us, mate?
Oh, hey,
mate.
Sorry, I just had enough.
Surprised you lasted this long, mate.
My phone, my fucking laptop died.
Oh, is that what it was? Shit.
Yeah.
Well, mate, we'll let you get back fucking out into a sunny Sunday Sydney arvo. I just thought to wrap up, I'll if you're interested, I've got resident reviewer Dad's review of your show from last week.
Yes.
He's known around these parts as his alias is part Australian, part Chinese because he used to work over in China. But we've come to know him as smoked paprika.
Okay, good on him.
So from Landsborough, Australian Sexiest Tradie fooled me. Wasn't what I expected. Was much better. Rick Donald is very clever to create the whole thing, even though it's based on the We Can Be Heroes TV show. Little bit bogan for my tastes, but there's talent there. And then that's about it. Thoughts?
Sorry, it cut out a little bit, but I heard the funny bit. How did he end it? Sorry.
He said a little bit bogan for my taste, but there's talent there.
But talent there.
But there's talent. Yeah, he sees.
Oh,
talent.
good. Cheers, Smoked Paprika. I appreciate that. I love it. I think he's pretty spot on. What do you say? I mean, so am I just commenting on what he said?
Oh, look, it's you don't have to say a whole lot. Sometimes Paps leaves a
No,
review.
you tell him to go fuck himself.
Look,
Actually,
appreciate that.
We already do every day. It's not breaking new ground, mate.
Are you charging cameo fees for that? 'Cause I'll send
how
that
many
right.
shows is he doing? What shows is he making at the moment?
I'll
Who is he to say there's talent there? He doesn't know my talent.
Pretty sure he's in love with the show, but
we're gonna have to cut here.
never meet your heroes. That's what they say, right? You've just been abused by Rick Donald. No, mate. Look, thank you so much for taking the time out for. God, it's probably been like an hour and a half now. We've loved.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's no, we're going to tell everyone we know about it, and keen for
Cheers.
what's next. Hey,
Yep.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know as soon as I know when it's going to come out, and if you guys are still fucking going deep into the fucking ugly depths of free-to-air TV, we'll do it again.
100%, mate. Looking forward to it.
All right, thanks, boys. Thanks for this.
All right.
cheers, Rick. Legend,
Thanks,
mate. Appreciate you. What a legend.
That is on the air tonight this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again to Rick for stopping by for the better part of his Sunday afternoon to record. If you did like this episode, give us a share on Instagram, give us a like on YouTube, and subscribe to our channel. And we'll see you
next week.